He proposed the ID, which is our instincts and our desires, the ego, which is what we are, reality and balance, and the superego, which is morality and ideas. He also proposed the concept of Oedipus complex and Electra complex. Freud had a student, Carl Gustav Jung, who he considered his intellectual heir, but Jung's attempts to broaden and polish psychoanalysis into a more philosophical and spiritual system deeply frustrated Freud. From Freud and Jung we have modernism, the cult of self. We live in a society that is obsessed with self-importance. The cult of self. Freud believed we are sexual beings, and that our sexual urges underpin civilizations, and because we can't control those sexual urges, we create religion to cope with our guilt and anxiety. Freud lived at the end of the 19th century in Vienna. The impact of people by moving to the city. In 19th century Europe, people moved from the countryside to cities mainly because of the Industrial Revolution, which created factory jobs, higher wages, and new opportunities that rural life could not provide. The city life is a higher abstraction. This causes psychological issues, confusion, alienation. Life becomes more structured, scheduled. These produces lack of freedom. Freud saw in his practice that women clients were hysterical. They were afraid that men would touch them because when they were young their father abused them. He was shocked, but as he heard similar stories from different women, he concluded that they must have been telling the truth. He wrote a very famous paper in 1896 called The Etiology of Hysteria, Origins. Co-written with Joseph Breuer, this book is considered the founding text of psychoanalysis. Abuse was more common than we believe. Women were traumatized and their symptoms were physical. Jeffrey Moussaieff Masson was a Harvard-trained psychoanalyst who became famous for challenging Freud's legacy. He did have a direct connection to Freud's daughter, Anna Freud, because she invited him to serve as director of the Freud archives in the early 1980s. After reviewing them, he concluded Freud had abandoned the seduction theory not because it was wrong, but because acknowledging widespread child abuse would damage psychoanalysis acceptance. The early Freud was very nuanced, balanced thinker. He trusted the evidence, but he doubted that he had resolved the problem and that there could be better people at this. Freud later stated that young girls have sexual urges, and the father innocently would caress them, awakening sexual desires. They start to masturbate. This creates a sense of resentment, hatred, and more hysteria. It was not the father's fault, and the girl is not able to differentiate fantasy from reality. Hysteria is common in our society because girls are desperate for attention. There was some evidence that sexual trauma was common in Vienna at the time, in Vienna, Austria in the 19th century.
Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe.